Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're back to team building on the channel today, and we're going to be doing a sand team. So this is a team that has been very much widely requested by a lot of you, throughout the videos, and finally here it is. I think I've got a pretty cool sand team to try and use for Regulation C. Sand is hard, right? I feel like the other three weathers are just better. They have a lot more results, but sand has a way in this format where it can actually be quite useful here. And I got some tech choices here that can probably intrigue a lot of you, and I was testing it a little bit and it actually works very, very well. So basically, starting from here, with any good sand team right now, you start here with the Lycanroc and the Tyranitar stuff, right? Because this was the easy choice, right? Because with this, you're able to put on a lot of pressure because Lycanroc has Sand Rush. So you're not really so concerned with the speed control, because you're under Sand Rush, you're able to outspeed a lot of things, even under Tailwind. So, you just go for a bunch of Rock Slide flinches, and Tyranitar is still very good in this format, especially with the Sand and with something like either a Choice Band or an Assault Vest, depending on how you want to build it. It either can put out a lot of damage with the band, or the Assault Vest just like take all those attacks, special wise, and then just be able to sit there, tank things, and deal damage right back, right? And from here, it was just all about like, how do you want to support these two? Because we know what these two can do, but you're going to need a little bit more than just Lycanroc and Tyranitar to be able to win some of these tournaments or even like a regional, right? So where do you go from here? I feel like you always start with the Ting-Lu in the back end, right? Because with the Ting-Lu, all right, what it does is it gives you access to reducing special attack damage, right? So now all of a sudden Tyranitar is also not taking that much damage. Same with the Lycanroc over here. You're just adding bulk to your entire team, and then from there, the Ting-Lu is also able to put on a bunch of pressure with the ground coverage, the steel coverage with stuff like Heavy Slam. Then you also get the Fissure shenanigans, of course, but we're going to take a different route with Ting-Lu. We're actually not going to be using Fissure on this Ting-Lu. We're going to be using a different kind of offensive set, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But just to give you, just to keep your eyes glued to the screen, the tech choice that I'm going to at least reveal now on this Lycanroc is Howl, right? Yeah, Howl. Not too many people remember that Lycanroc gets Howl, and I've been using this a little bit, especially on pivot switch-ins, where I would switch in either one of these physical attackers, and there's some others that I'm going to show you in a second. But if you're able to just click Howl and buff them, they can be put in a really, really good spot and just put out a bunch of pressure, right? Because like Ting-Lu, 110 attack is actually not too bad, but now you Howl it and boost it, and now all of a sudden offensively, Ting-Lu can actually sweep an entire team while sitting behind all this bulk that we're gonna put on it, right? So Tyranitar, Lycanroc, and Ting-Lu as a starter, and then from there, I decided to add a little bit more bulk to the team and a little bit more offense by going with a duo that's also still really strong right now, and that's the Maushold and the Annihilape, right? So with the Maushold, of course, you're able to just provide friend guard support and make every single one of your members bulky, whoever's next to it. And of course, you have the beat up shenanigans that you can do with the Annihilape. Okay, and in terms of like Flutter Mane stuff, you can beat it because you have access to Terra Fire. Annihilape's really good at the moment just because, how much Arcanine and Gyarados are running around. A lot, right? So they have to second guess themselves as far as bringing in the lead because when you have a Defiant boost, the Annihilape can do a lot of damage. And then if you're able to also Howl it, +2 Howl is actually really nice. Then you also have the idea of bulk up here just to also boost your defense. And then you sit behind the Ting-Lu, which reduces special attack damage. And now all of a sudden this Annihilape is a little bit hard to remove, right? So Maushold, Annihilape, and Ting-Lu, they've been a pretty good trio as it is. And now we're supporting them with the Sand Rush core, a little bit more faster offense from these two. And then over here, your last slot here, we just need like one good special attacker. And what good special attacker else do we need than reliable Flutter Mane here? You see this on a lot of teams where they have like 5 physical mons and then there's just a random Flutter Mane slapped on there. And no different here. So this is the idea, right? If you want to really make sand work, this is as good of a sand squad as you can get. There's some other more aggressive variants where like I've seen Dragonite Chenpao, so this way the Chenpao is just making the Tyranitar and the Lycanroc do more damage, of course. Then you have a bunch of support options from there, with the 2 slots left. But I wanted to go this route, and I wanted to use Howl on the Lycanroc over here, just so that, the Annihilape is also doing more damage. Same with Maushold, by the way, in terms of like some damage. But again, it's more of a support Pokemon in this kind of team. But the real gimmick here is, of course, the offensive Ting-Lu that we're going to go for. But this is the 6 that I've decided to use for sand. All right, so let's just go ahead and reveal the GIFs. We got the Lycanroc and Tyranitar already. So now we have the Ting-Lu as the back end, the Annihilape and the Maushold as the secondary engine, and of course Flutter Mane just slaps on here to, you know, come in the back and finish things off. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the rest of these EVs. The rest of these move sets, the item sets, and of course, yes, the EVs. But you have to do the move sets and the items first, because often both of those will dictate what kind of EV spread that you want. And, you know, taking into account a couple damage calcs, of course, that will affect our EV spread. But again, if this is something you're interested in, where I build a team like this and, you know, I show you how to do all the move sets, the EVs, the items, check out coaching on the channel. It's a tier 3 sub. If you look in the video description or in the comments section, there is a link to join the channel with the tier 3 sub. It's a team building sub. So once you register, you're able to message me on Discord, and then we coordinate a team building session together with a one-on-one call, and we get you that team that you need for either an upcoming regional, an online tournament, or maybe just something as simple as ladder play. All right, so let's go back to Tyranitar here and let's start doing the move sets. Okay, so with any good Tyranitar set, of course, you're gonna go with a couple of staples here with Rock Slide and Crunch here. I've seen Assurance. You're more than welcome to use it, but I just like Crunch. And then over here, we're gonna have Terra Blast. And believe it or not, we're gonna have Ice Punch. Yeah, this is actually really good considering like how much of the Terra Flyings are running around right now, just because things want to avoid Ting-Lu damage, right? So then you can kind of counter that by just going with a nice little coverage move on Tyranitar with Ice Punch. And then from here, I do like the Assault Vest here. I know Choice Man will just give you more damage, but I just want Tyranitar on this team to be relatively bulky and just give me any kind of chip damage as I want, while also providing sand just for a little bit more chip damage against the opponent, right? And then over here, the Terra Flying, of course, will be of choice, you know, so this way we have something against an opposing Ting-Lu for that matter. But yeah, this is it. For movesets on Tyranitar. Lycanroc here, so of course the Rock Slide combination, and then we are going to have Howl. I do like Endeavor, of course, just to be able to chip things down to their sash if they have it, or maybe 1 HP, because, you know, we're very frail. But if we can get off a key Endeavor, you know, and just make them 1 HP like us, then the sand chip should be able to just finish them off, right? Which is a very, very key in certain games if you're able to pull it off. The Ting-Lu here, so basically we're going to be going with a clear amulet set, believe it or not the Assault Vest, because we put that on the Tyranitar. So with the Ting-Lu, what we're going to do is, of course, have Protect here. We're still going to have Heavy Slam. All right, good fairy coverage against the Flutter Mane, but we're going to have Stomping Tantrum as our ground move, and then our dark move is going to be Payback, right? So Payback is a proven dark move on Ting-Lu already, where you're just able to do a lot more damage if you're moving after the target, which is great news for Ting-Lu, especially after like a Howl boost. Like Payback, Stomping Tantrum are going to hurt a lot, and we're going to, of course, figure, you know, almost max Adamant set here. We'll show you in a second. Maushold here, follow me for redirection support, of course. The beat up for the Annihilape, just so that you have a harder hitting Rage Fist, of course. Then from there, you have Super Fang for a little bit more chip damage, since we don't have the Ruination on the Ting-Lu, and then of course Protect in the last slot over here. Safety Goggles, without a doubt, just to get around the Among Us Spore shenanigans. You know, just kind of pin that slot over there. And then the Annihilape here. Oh wait, by the way, the Maushold is going to be Terra Ghost, just way so you can whiff some of the dark moves that are running around. The Ting-Lu, we're going to go with Terra Grass ideally as well, just so, you know, you're also able to dodge potential Among Us shenanigans, right? And Grass is just a very good defensive Terra, along with Water for that matter here, in this kind of Ting-Lu set, I would say. And it gives you some options, again, against the Palafin stuff, you know, because they just want to click Jet Punch or Wave Crash. If you can go with the Grass Terra, then you're just going to do a lot of damage, but I'll be able to resist that damage from the Ting-Lu. I'm sorry, the Palafin. Okay, the Maushold here, like I said, we mentioned here, Lycanroc, same idea. Terra Rock is also pretty good just for a little bit more damage, stab damage. The Annihilape here, back to the Annihilape. I like Terrifier here just because you're able to, one, not get burned, and then two, be able to resist the fairy coverage moves against opposing Flutter Mane. So for that matter, it's really good. And of course, you're able to also resist the Chi-Yu stuff. So that's also pretty good. And then with your fighting coverage like Drain Punch, you're able to punch it and KO the Chi-Yu. And then with your ghost coverage like Rage Fist, you're also able to KO the Flutter Mane, right? So this is why I like Annihilape in this kind of format. It does a lot into Flutter Mane Chiyu stuff, and then the Arcanine and Gyarados gets a little bit difficult to bring when you have a defined Pokemon on your team. Then Protect here, and then finally just leftovers here. So this way you get passive recovery over time. And you can imagine, right, we're not going to be fully invested in our attack stat. We're going to be more on the bulky side because we already have like Howl stuff and bulk up, and we have the beat up potential from the Maushold here. So we have a lot of ways to boost our attack. So, you know, we're not going to be fully invested in it, but I'd rather just go for defensive damage calculations to be able to survive certain things, which I'll show you in a second. All right, the Flutter Mane over here. So you have the option to go with Booster Energy. You have the option to go with Life Orb. You have the option to go with Choice Specs. Really all depends on you, the user, how you want to play this Flutter Mane. But either way, you always go with Shadow Ball, Moonblast, regardless whether of the 3 items you have. But for the sake of this build in this video, I was using Life Orb just because I like Protect on my Pokemon, so I decided to do that. I've shown a couple videos where I was using Flutter Mane, but that's because, you know, I'm showing a little bit of flexibility in how you want to build a Flutter Mane squad. But, you know, there's just either of the 3 items are just very, very good on it. And then over here, I have Thunderbolt here as a good tech coverage of choice. This is for the Palafin and the Gyarados stuff, right? Because other than that, you know, yes, we do have rock coverage for the Gyarados, but what if it Terras, right? So then it gets a little bit more interesting. But again, if it doesn't, then the Thunderbolt makes a little bit more sense to have. And then, of course, for the Palafin stuff, right? It just gives us another coverage move to hit the Palafin relatively hard with, right? So that's the idea. And with the Flutter Mane, I actually like another defensive Terra here. I like Terra Steel because it does a couple of things. One, it will resist the Fairy move against, you know, the Mirror. And then it makes the Ghost coverage also not do that much damage, right? Because you have a Steel Terra type now instead of your Ghost Fairy type, right? So that's the idea how I want to build this team as far as like movesets. So now I'm going to show you the EV spreads, and then from there we'll show a best of 3 with one of my viewers / clients, and we'll show you how to pilot this team as a little bit of a sample size. All right, so until then, let's just go ahead and do the EVs. Let's start with Tyranitar here. Okay, so here we are with Tyranitar, and my goal with Tyranitar is to do 2 things, right? Hit the benchmark for the attack stat. All right, and in other words, hit the bump, and then also have enough defensive EVs where I can have a 2-shot against a modest Choice Specs Flutter Mane Moonblast. That was the idea when I did my EV spreads for Tyranitar. So what is that spread? Basically, if I go into my attacking stat here, the first EV benchmark here is right here at 176. 44 investment, and the reason why is because if you move this slider, because you're Adamant Nature, you're going to see that this stat increases by 2 points with the Adamant Nature, right? And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are or what EV benchmarks are, you know, you got to comment in the video description and ask what they are, because if you're trying to play this game, if you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, you got to know what EV bumps are, because they're very important in how you want to, you know, design an EV spread for your Pokemon. So feel free to comment and ask, and then of course I'll explain it. But again, watch the video, watch how I do this, so this way you get a better understanding of how it is and what it is. All right, and then after the first bump, it's every 80 EVs invested into your attack stat, right? But only in your natured stat, which in this case is Adamant. So what's 44 plus 80? It's going to be 124. So you're going to see the next benchmark here. You see how you go from 185 to 187. You skip 186, right? This is the second bump here. But I want a little bit more damage out of an Assault Vest Tyranitar. So I went another 80, which is 204. And I stopped here. Okay, now I want my defensive calc against the Flutter Mane. So basically, this is what it was. I got up to 196 here with the 12 points of investment in special defense. And I have that damage calc over here. You can see where the Flutter Mane has a at max roll or a high roll of 49.5 with the sand and the Assault Vest. So I am able to take this Moonblast and be able to, you know, say, oh, this is a 3-hit KO. All right. Then from there, I just have 96 left of EV, so I just put 1 point in defense, and then the rest just goes into speed. You know, so this way you can outspeed like some opposing Tyranitars for that matter. But the speed is just a little, you know, pretty much leftovers in this point. Lycanroc here, straightforward. It's a Sashmon. You know, just go jolly 252, 252. Nothing else needs to be said here. You know, you just want to be super fast and just, you know, click a bunch of fast rock slides and, you know, hope that you get 17 flinches and make the opponent rage quit. All right, then the Ting-Lu over here. So like I said, this is an offensive Ting-Lu, so we're going to go Adamant Nature, and just like Tyranitar, we're going to go pretty much the third benchmark in the attack stat, or in other words, the third EV bump. So let's see where that is. So here's the first one, 152 to 154, 76 investment, which means another 80 EVs is going to be 156. All right, and then another 80 EVs is going to be at 236 like this, right? So there's the third bump there. Then from here, you know, you just have 1 point in the defense, you know, 1 point in speed. You don't really need defense and speed here, right? Ting-Lu has a bucket load of defense, and you don't really care about speed. You know, these are just like, you know, leftover EVs that you just want to use to round it out. Then I'm just going to go with 76 investment over here, 240, and then the rest just goes into special defense over here. This is pretty much your leftover bulk as far as like what our Ting-Lu is designed to do. But again, it's just basically an offensive Ting-Lu set, you know, with 176, and then after that, once you click Howl, you're able to do very, very nice damage. Okay, the Maushold over here. So a couple things that I decided to do with the Maushold is, first of all, I want to be able to live, again, a Moonblast from a Flutter Mane. That's also important. And 68 Jolly investment here. This is what's going to allow me to outspeed a lot of those Arcanines, you know, that are trying to go for like Willow stuff. If anything, you can technically put one more point here just so that you can outspeed them. But this is also meant to outspeed Great Tusk for that matter. Also meant to outspeed Goldengo. So that's why I went with Jolly 68 here. This is one of my older Maushold spreads, but it still very much works. Of course, max HP here, you want the Maushold to be as bulky as possible, and the 36 special defense here is what allows me to live a Moonblast from an opposing Flutter Mane. I just have 1 point in the attack. You don't really need your Maushold to be dealing damage here. It's just meant to enable the Annihilate, and you're clicking Super Fang times that you aren't clicking Follow Me, right? So then from there, this is just leftovers into the defensive stat. And if I were to bring up the Maushold over here, then you'll see that this is pretty much the set that I have, right? So I'm just going to show you here with 252 investment, right? And then with 36 special defense, right? So it's just this, okay? And, you know, very comfortably you are able to, oh, and let me take off Friend Guard because Maushold is not affected by the Friend Guard. And again, there's that damage calc, modest 116 with the choice specs. You are able to survive it. 252 modest is a different story, but nobody's running 252 modest Flutter Mane. Let's be real here. Okay, so here's our damage calc there for our Maushold. Okay, then we get to the Annihilape, and the same idea. I want to be able to survive the Flutter Mane Moonblast without completely having to rely on Starfire. But because you might say, oh, it's super effective, it's got to KO you. You forgot that we have Friend Guard on the Maushold, right? So sometimes I may not be able to Terra, but if I have the option to be able to live it without having to force my Terra and just KO it right back, I'm gonna go for it, right? So what is that investment? First of all, we're just going to go with 180 HP investment over here. This gets me to 208, which optimizes my leftovers recovery because again, you're getting 1/6 of your max HP, and in this case, 1/6 of the 208 is gonna be 12. So a perfect 12 HP recovery per turn. With leftovers, if you had 207, it would be 11.9, and if you had 209, it would be 12 point something. So all these decimals would round down. And why would you need to do that? So you always want a perfect number here, a perfect whole number whenever you have something like leftovers or some kind of berry for that matter. Okay, Adamant 36 is all we need. All right, our first benchmark in our attacking stat. And that's really it, right? Because we have bulk up plays, we have Howl plays, we have beat up plays. This is really all I need out of my Annihilape. And then the damage calc that gives me the survival against the Flutter Mane is with 180 investment, I need 148 special defense, you know, to be able to survive. And if I were to just show you that, I can right over here. This is it. So you can see with the Friend Guard, let me click it. We are able to survive the 116 modest Moonblast from an opposing Flutter Mane. Very, very convenient if you ask me, right? Then you see I have 144 EVs left. So then honestly, you just put a couple points in speed and then the rest just goes into defense like this. All right. But then you also realize, wait a minute, I have an odd number here in my defense right after I go for bulk up. So maybe I want to make this a little bit more of an even number. So what you can do is either drop this by 1. So this way you have 116 and have a little bit more speed here on your Annihilape. Or you can just, you know, put 1 point in speed here and then just go the next route in your defensive nature. And then, you know, now you have a perfectly even number in your defense where you can optimize the bulk up set that you would get from your your bulk up, right? The defense boost for that matter. So up to you. For now, I think I'm just going to do this and just have about 20 speed here. Just so that maybe I could potentially outspeed some opposing Annihilapes that don't have speed investments. All right. Then the Flutter Mane over here. So we're just going to be using the old reliable Neil set that we've been using the last couple times, which is basically meant to just be able to take a non-Terra Water Jet Punch from a Palafin, right? And by going max speed, you're able to do a lot of things, basically outspeed the other slower, bulky, modest Flutter Manes. But if you want to choose a different speed tier, let me tell you some options that you can do, and then feel free to try different ones depending on how you want to do this. The couple of speed tiers that these Flutter Manes are going for is, for example, 171, which is outspeeding an opposing Garchomp. Some of them, like me, originally we were going to 175, which is outspeeding those speed creepers, right? And also outspeeding Adamant Speed Dondozo. 252 non-Jolly, of course, so you're able to outspeed Dondozo. And then you can also go to 181, which will outspeed a max speed Maushold for that matter, right? So it's really, 3 different speed tiers that you can choose. But at that point, you know what I said? I agree with Neil. Let's just go max speed. This way we can outspeed those bulky Flutter Manes and potentially KO them. And then here we're going to go with 116 in the special attack stat. Again, because they're both equal, you are looking at modest nature here. You are getting a +1 special attack boost because that is the bare minimum for the boost that you would need. Except remember that there is no booster energy, so this doesn't really matter. But at the very least, you still have the same EV spread just because of the survival against the Jet Punch Palafin. All right, but if this was a booster energy, that's exactly what would happen. But again, we don't have it. We have the Life Orb instead. So go figure. But from there, it's just some leftover stuff. You can, take a little bit off this speed and then re-optimize your HP for Life Orb chip. But again, this is one of those rules where like I'm breaking my optimization rule, for my Life Orb, for example, in this case, just so that I can achieve the defensive calc that I want. And in this case, I want to survive the Palafin. So I break my optimization rule and this is the result. All right, but this is it. This is the general spreads for this sand team. All right, so again, hopefully you found my explanations relatively helpful here. But now what I'm going to do is showcase you a couple of battles in the best of 3 that I was having with one of my viewers where they're using a balanced team. And typically this is something that you're going to be encountering a lot. So this way, at the very least, I can show you a couple different combinations and how you can, reposition your Pokemon to get an advantageous spot. All right, so let's take a look at some of those battles. Okay, so this is game number 1, and looks like my viewer is using the Paul Chua 6 with the Roaring Moon balance stuff with Palafin and Ting-Lu. So basically, what I want to be able to do is just have something, for the Flutter Mane in the end game. And we do have a lot of options. I'm not really scared of the other stuff, especially that Roaring Moon. I don't even know if he wants to bring it, but at the very least, I must preserve my options for that Flutter Mane because I know he's going to bring it. There's no reason why he doesn't. It does well into pretty much like 3 of my Mons. So the question is, how can I preserve my resources so that way I can overwhelm their Flutter Mane and, be able to have enough in that end game. So at the very least, I want to start off strong. So I'm going to do Lycanroc Tyranitar first with the Annihilape and the Maushold stuff in the back because those 2 can pretty much overwhelm the Flutter Mane. I just need to reposition and make sure I utilize my Lycanroc and Tyranitar relatively well. And Tyranitar also can do well into the Flutter Mane just because I have an Assault Vest here along with the Sand Chip. So I can win that battle if it does come down to it. All right, so let's see how we do. But basically, here is my lead, like I said. And he leads the Roaring Moon. He actually did bring it, and the Palafin. Okay, so that tells me, again, there's going to be Flutter Mane in the back, but I don't know what else he wants to bring there. It could be Arcanine in the back. Either way, but I don't want to lose Tyranitar right away to like a double up from maybe a Roaring Moon and a Palafin, Terra Water, Wave Crash for that kind of thing. I know my Lycanroc can go first with Rock Slide stuff, but I don't think the Roaring Moon goes for a Terra Flying here. So I feel like he's just there to just do a little bit of chip damage. He might even switch this out, but I don't want the Tyranitar to die just yet. Lycanroc, I already have a Sash. And if he gets me down to Sash, then I have some Endeavor plays, right? So what I'm going to do is actually catch him and try and go for the boost right now, where I'm just going to switch out my Tyranitar and go into the Annihilape right now, and I'm going to click Howl. He actually protects the Palafin, which is actually really, really good for me, because that's what I was afraid of. So he does click Tailwind, so now he does have speed on his side, so this is his way of countering the Lycanroc stuff with the sand, you know, just saying, haha, now, you know, we're on equal footing, and now the Roaring Moon is faster than my Lycanroc. But that's okay. I did also give my Annihilape a +1 boost, so that's also very nice. So there's a little bit of a trade-off here, right? So in this sense now, what I can do is still go for Rock Slide spam. I still have my Sash. You actually just go for Roaring Flying right now. The idea here, I protected just so that, you know, maybe he does go for it, but I'm really surprised that he went for the Terra Flying right now. I know he wants to remove the Annihilape straight up, but I'm really surprised he did that in front of my Lycanroc, right? So he does Jet Punch. He doesn't get me to Sash. The Acrobatics goes into the protected slot, and the Roaring Moon just drops. And the reason why it drops, why is it so strong? Because remember, Lycanroc has a Howl boost. Okay, so that's very convenient for me. So I'm able to remove that right from the get-go. The Palafin's at half, Annihilape's still full. There's a Mungus, that's annoying, but we have the play of Endeavor for this Amoonguss, and the Palafin, you know, it's a little scared right now. Like, if this is like Rage Powder stuff just to protect the Palafin, maybe he goes for Jet Punch right now, but again, that's not going to stop me from clicking Endeavor for that matter, right? So he actually switches into Flutter Mane here. He wants to maybe get the Palafin for a later stuff. Citrus Berry, that's annoying, but Rage Fist doesn't kill, which is unfortunate. He goes for Spore, and the Amoonguss still drops anyway, so I guess there's that. And now I have a sleeping Annihilape in front of his Flutter Mane, which is not great, and his Palafin is about to come back in. He still has 2 more turns of Tail, actually 1 more turn of Tailwind here. So there's that matter. I don't really have anything to do on my Annihilape, so I'm just gonna stall his Tailwind here. So this way my Sand can come back a little bit later, and maybe do something my Annihilape actually lives, which is actually interesting. But the Sand is chipping away at his Palafin. I'm gonna have 1 more turn of it. I don't think it's gonna be enough, but that's okay. All right, so he just Jet Punches me. I let the Lycanroc die, and so I also let the Annihilape die. I thought I could protect it, but it didn't really matter. Sand subsides, but here comes Tyranitar, here comes my Maushold. So basically, you know, I'm gonna just rely on these two. And the Flutter Mane is chipped enough where the Tyranitar can beat it. The Palafin will die, you know, to like basically residual sand damage. I just have to redirect everything and be okay. Terra Flying here, if there's the Follow Me, I know he's going for chip damage with the Jet Punch. He wants to remove it, of course. And the Life Orb chip damage is helping me out here, and I'm able to remove the Palafin. I mean the Flutter Mane. So now it just comes down to whether or not I don't get crit. I know I can live 1 Wave Crash, right? But really, this is all it comes down to. But I'm very confident. I have luck on my side, and that does so much damage. And thank God we made our Tyranitar a little bit more bulky. So we do take game 1 a little bit. Kind of shaky. Maybe the Howl play turn 1. You know, a little bit questionable, but again, I didn't want the Tyranitar to die. I needed it in the end game, and you know, that it does pay off for me, right? So let's take a look at game 2. So this is game 2 here. So basically what I want to do is still, you know, keep the pressure on him, but I want to change things up a little bit. I'm going to leave straight up Maushold Annihilape here, just to see if he does bring out the Arcanine here in this sense. So it's Palafin and Amoonguss. That's okay here. So basically what I want to do, because I have the goggles here, I'm in a pretty good spot against that Amoonguss. So, you know, he can still Spore my Annihilape, but again, if I just redirect everything, then the Amoonguss is actually not doing anything. And what I can do with the Annihilape, I decide to go for a bulk up play just to like scare him a little bit. So there's my bulk up, all right, and he just goes for big chip damage on the Maushold, and he tries for the Spore. Of course, why not? But there's another Rage Powder, and again, I'm able to bypass that because I have a safety goggle. So there's the beat up there. He goes for Haze, so he's actually a little bit faster than my Annihilape. And then there's some chip damage, and it gets into the Berry, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that's okay. I thought I could get that KO, but you know, the Haze was able to stop that. You know, of course the Palafin has some speed, so that's expected. Then from there, you know, basically I want to just preserve the Maushold a little bit more, right? So he does go for the Jet Punch, but I want to just go for the beat up here, get the Annihilape damage, and just go straight into the Palafin, and it does pick up, so he's not able to get the hero form, and we are able to just remove it. So now here comes the Flutter Mane, okay, which is a little bit scary considering what I have on the field, but you know, still fine. He goes into Roaring Moon here, so here's the Roaring Moon again. All right, he gets a Speed Nature. I'm going for Terrify here just so that I can resist the Moonblast. It's actually sub Flutter Mane. Great play by him. He does break it, so I should have just protected, right? Did you really need to sub? I don't know. So a little bit more interesting in that sense. But now I can bring in Tyranitar. I don't want to lose the Maushold just yet. So I'm more than welcome to just give up this T-Tar here. But again, Moonblast, we're able to take that. You know, it's very, very comfortably, right? And then the Sand Chip is taking away at the Flutter Mane and the Roaring Moon for that matter. All right, goes into Amoonguss here. Maybe just doesn't want to lose the Flutter Mane right there because he figures, yes, I can pick up the T-Tar, but you know the Annihilape just KOs me right back, and then the Roaring Moon can do some chip damage, but I can beat the Roaring Moon in the end game here. So he goes back into the Amoonguss. So a little bit of chip damage there, but that's fine. All right, so then from here, he decides to just, oh wait, I protect first, of course. He tries to go for the Annihilape there, just a little bit of chip damage, and there's the Ice Punch tech. So I'm able to remove the Amoonguss, so I don't have to worry about Spore and Redirection shenanigans. Back into Flutter Mane. I can give up the Tyranitar here. You know, it did its job. Okay, and now I'm in a pretty good spot now because now my Annihilape can just kill the Roaring Moon. It actually didn't, but because there's Sand Chip, it does pick it up anyway. And the Flutter Mane is not enough to beat me, so this is a little bit more of a convincing 2v1. I go for the Howl just for the memes. All right, he goes for Shadow Ball. It's not enough, of course. You know, we're Terrafire, and then we just KO him with Rage Fist, right? So a little bit more of a better game 2 than game 1, but hey, it was really all about the Maushold and being able to live stuff, and of course picking up that key KO on that Palafin where he just did not get it into the hero form, which is, I believe, important if you're trying to use the Palafin like that. All right, so hopefully this gives you some ideas on how to use the team. I know we didn't really bring Ting-Lu, but he doesn't really have any special attack options besides his own Flutter Mane, and I was fine with the Sand combination, right? It was much more aggressive than his stuff, whereas, you know, I was able to put on a little bit more pressure that way. So let me know what you think of this Sand team, and again, if you're trying to do or if you're trying to go to a regional, if you're trying to get a team for online ladder, or if you have some other tournament that you're trying to prepare for and you need a team, feel free to check out our coaching on the channel. Again, check the video description, check the comments section. Every single video has a join button where you can click it, and again, click that link, sign up with the tier 3 sub, and then from there you can message me on Discord. Join the Discord if you haven't done so already. It's in the video description. And then finally, you can message me and we coordinate that time and we get you that team that you need for whatever tournament that you need it for. All right, that'll be it for now, guys. Peace out and have a good one.